Hi, my name is Joseph Parker, WBO champion of the world, and you're watching Sporting Icons.
So I'm seeing like a lot of comments ever since last night's big fight between Joshua and Joseph Parker, arguably number 1 versus number 2 in the world heavyweight division right now. Of course it's arguable. Where a lot of people are saying that Joseph Parker was overrated. A lot of people say that his tactics were wrong. Some people say that the referee was helping Anthony Joshua. Other people say that the referee was helping Joseph Parker in order to not get stopped. So there's loads and loads of comments, and I just want to give my quick thoughts on a lot of it, which is, just because somebody loses, you don't throw them under the bus. A loss doesn't define you as a fighter. Look at the history greats. You know, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, all these guys lost. Vladimir Klitschko lost. Vitaly Klitschko lost. Okay, so it's no big deal really. He's young, he's still hungry, and if you put him in there with the Toys R Us title holder, he beats Wilder quite easily, in my opinion. And then, of course, restores that title back to WBC standard. So, for me, Joseph Parker is still a legitimate contender. I mean, look at who he's beat. Okay, Hughie Fury, undefeated, very, very elusive, very, very tricky, but he got the win. Okay, it was contentious. Some people think that Hughie Fury won. Fair enough. He beat Andy Ruiz Jr., who is, or was, an undefeated contender as well. Young, in their prime, in his prime even. He beat Carlos Takam, who was Joshua's previous opponent. And he beat Takam when you could probably argue Takam was in his prime, when Joseph Parker was still green. So, you know, he's done all this. Joseph Parker is still an elite fighter. Just that last night's performance, based on styles, they didn't gel. And a lot of that was because Joseph Parker didn't take risks. A lot of that was because Anthony Joshua didn't take risks. Maybe the tactics were wrong for Joseph Parker. Maybe. I mean, for me, I had that fight, Anthony Joshua, winning quite comfortably. I would probably imagine 90% of the people who watched that fight would agree with me on that one. Unless, of course, you really, really hate Anthony Joshua, then maybe you could you could probably argue against it. But for me, Joshua won it quite comfortably. But what's next for Joseph Parker? For me, maybe look at the winner of Bellew Hay. That would be a very interesting one. Not only would it get him ranked highly again, but it's a huge money fight for him. And it's a fight where, I mean, for me, he needs to stay in the UK. There's no point going to America, really. What's he really going to do in America? For me, he could potentially fight Wilder, but Wilder won't want that smoke. I'll tell you, he will not want that smoke. He's just biding his time like he has done throughout his entire career, where he's just waiting for that massive payday with Anthony Joshua before he comes over Charles Martin Part 2. But there are some pretty decent American heavyweights out there who I rate and I like a lot, but they are kind of on the same kind of playing field as Joseph Parker, in the sense of they're still progressing. Whereas Wilder, he's hit his peak and he's on his way down now. He's not improving at all. If he was going to improve, he would have improved 20 fights ago, right? But it just hasn't. So Joseph Parker, he could have a decent fight with Jarrell Miller. That would be a very interesting, good fight. Very, very interesting one. He could potentially fight Adam Kownacki again, but I mean, Kownacki, he's only 17-0, so he's still a work in progress. He's still progressing, but it's an interesting one. Dominic Brazil, again, you know, the only guy that Brazil ever lost to was, again, Anthony Joshua. So again, it'll be interesting to see where them two are at, if them two were to get it on. And I'm pretty sure Joseph Parker would quite like that fight because he was good pals with Izzy Ugano, right? So, again, that'd be interesting. But for me, I think he needs to stay in the UK, maybe set up camp in the UK. And as I said, the winner of Bellew and Hay would be a very, very interesting one for me. Maybe Alexander Povetkin. You know, try and regain the WBO mandatory position and then fight Joshua again. I mean, in a perfect world, you could probably say Wilder, because that's a fight where Parker can win, and because I don't believe that Wilder can knock him out. I don't believe it. I mean, it's possible, of course, but I don't believe that would happen. Wilder doesn't have the discipline or the skills to cope with Parker the way that Joshua did. He doesn't have that. So, because all Wilder has really, or his biggest asset, is his big punch. But Joshua also has a big punch, but the reason that he didn't throw it is because he couldn't throw it, because Joseph Parker made it difficult for him to throw it. He wouldn't stand still, you know. So, and Wilder would have the same problem. He wouldn't be able to detonate it, so therefore Parker would be outboxing him. Now, of course, a lot of people say that, especially like the Wilder fanboy channels, will say that Joseph Parker won, and their reasoning, I can kind of see where they're coming from, because they have all supported very boring fighters like Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward. You know, they fought the same kind of way as what Parker did, back foot, and just trying to hit with a counter once in a while. That pretty much was their entire fighting style. Very, very boring. But Joseph Parker is not a boring fighter, just that against, well, his last two opponents have been just all wrong for him in many, many different ways. But he would have learned a lot from this one. Maybe a big fight with Dillian Whyte. That would be an interesting one. I'm sure Dillian Whyte would be up for it. And I'm pretty sure Joseph Parker would be up for it. Maybe a fight with Tyson Fury at some point. Maybe not just yet. I'd like to see Tyson Fury come back and get back into it for a while. I really would. But for me, I think out of all the fights I could possibly think of, the only ones that will be of real interest, of course, Wilder would be interesting, and certainly for a world title, but there's no way Wilder would dare risk it against Joseph Parker. Not on your Nelly. Wouldn't happen. So for me, I think that if he wants to fight in Vegas, obviously that's where he's based, his camp in Vegas, then, and if he wants to stay in America, then maybe Jarrell Miller or Dominic Brazil there. If he wants to stay in the UK and earn a lot of money, which of course he would do, you know, top up his huge bank account that you know, he got for Anthony Joshua last night, which is just should have, in theory, set up his family for life now. So to stay in the UK, winner of Bellew Hay, maybe a Dillian Whyte, maybe, and I certainly wouldn't advise him to really go to Russia, I suppose, but maybe go and fight Povetkin, maybe do it on neutral ground, like the UK, for example, or maybe on a Joshua undercard, or maybe on a Wilder card, or something like that in America, you know. I mean, but for me, I think Povetkin and Joseph Parker is a very decent fight, so I'd like to see that. So anyway, drop your thoughts below as to what you think Joseph Parker should do next. What kind of opponent should he really be looking at? Do you think maybe a Dillian Whyte would be a good call? A Alexander Povetkin? Or maybe a Tyson Fury comeback fight? No, probably not for me. I can't see that one. But maybe Jarrell Miller or Dominic Brazil would be interesting fights. So drop your thoughts below as to what you feel Joseph Parker should be doing. Do you think maybe he should set up camp in the UK? Do you think maybe he should stay in Vegas? Do you think maybe he should retake his stock, if you like, and come out of New Zealand? Maybe have a fight with Lucas Brown, maybe, while both of them have come off of a loss. You could argue that their performances weren't as well as what you would normally say for them. So maybe a Parker versus Lucas Brown fight may still be of interest over in New Zealand, Australia. I mean, I would certainly watch it, that's for sure. Maybe have a pro fight for Junior Farr over in New Zealand. That would be an interesting one, that's for sure. So maybe Amir Mansour, again, that's an interesting fight. Or maybe he wants to start a little bit lower, maybe at a Derek Chisora kind of level. You know, maybe he wants to be an opponent for Joe Joyce. So plenty of things that Joseph Parker could do. So I'm just curious as to what you think he should do. And as I said, don't be disheartened, Parker fans, by that one loss. Everybody takes a loss. The 0 on somebody's record is overrated. Very, very overrated. So pay it no mind. This is going to make him a better fighter, surely. So drop your thoughts below. Click that thumbs up. Subscribe, of course. And I'll catch you on the next video.